What's going on, everyone? It's your man Chris Z here, back with another video, and today's going to be Sadhguru is wrong about astrology. Now, Sadhguru is a very wise man, a very influential person in the community. Multiple of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people watch him, but he is wrong about astrology. I'm going to do a critique on his astrology video he made back in 2018. All right, let's get right into it. Sure. All right. We're going to be going through his video step by step.
And we'll go to all of this astrology. What is it that you're trying to do? You're trying to look at the positions of the planet and make certain predictions, right?
We're looking at the positions of the planets. Okay. Yes, we do. We do use the position of the planets. We use the positions of the planets to measure events that are going on in current reality. Astrology is a geometrical science that uses geometry. It is an observational science. It honestly got its earliest roots that we can find goes back to ancient Africans. Even before the time of Egypt, people were using astrology. The main reason why people started using astrology, and people will wrongly say astronomy, but astronomy is actually a byproduct of astrology. The first reason why we started using astrology is because of flood seasons. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years ago, ancient Africans wanted to figure out a way to stop themselves from losing their crops, their lands, their homes, and they wanted to find a method. They wanted to think of a method so that they can tell when certain floods and natural disasters that we cannot predict or stop from Earth as humans from happening. When nature comes through, is going to come through. When God says it's time for something to happen, it's going to happen. But that does not mean us as humans cannot prepare for to the best of our abilities. So the earliest version of an astrology calendar can be found in the Temple of Dendera in ancient Egypt, where this is the earliest we found that they were able to actually write down and predict a astrological birth chart. And again, it was based off the Nile flood river calendar. This is why we used it for. So once we started looking at the stars, we started to realize when certain stars and certain planets in the sky are at certain positions, this is when the flood happens. We started tracking it over and over and over and over again until we've tracked it so many times over the years. The ancient Africans made a realization that when these certain planetary alignments, when the Earth is in this certain position of the universal sky, these events will occur here on Earth. They got that down to the point where they realized without a shadow of a doubt, it's a fact. The same way it will rain, it will snow, it will heat up, the temperatures will change. We know this to be fact. This is what we started using astrology for our own personal benefit, even before we started using it to predict our own personal lives. So astrology has always been a tool that we as humans were using to understand the world around us, to give us a benefit in life. This is the first thing I have to bring up, because the way he's going to talk about astrology in this video is very biased. And I'm gonna just let him speak.
I want you to understand, most of the time, people who make good predictions are people who tell you about the past very clearly, or some people tell you tomorrow what's going to happen very clearly. Not doing
No, that is wrong. That is what you would call a person who is a psychic, a person who does guesswork. They've looked at enough people. It's the same methodology of the science. Don't get me wrong. If you study people for long enough periods of time, you're going to be able to see patterns. This is how medicine works. This is how all science works. If scientists were not studying people, how would we know how to fix bones, reattach limbs, refibrillate hearts? I don't understand why he's coming at it in that context, like that does not apply to any science, whether it is medical, it has to do with humans, it has to do with technology. If we weren't playing with chemicals and elements and heating up iron and things like that, we wouldn't be able to advance as a society as we would to this point in the future. But I'm just going to continue, let him speak now.
You know, instead of teaching this yoga, if I sit in Chennai and just predict people's future, I will tell you in the next 10 years exactly what will happen in your life.
Keep in mind, when he's talking about this, he's saying, I can predict your future just by looking at you. He's not talking about looking at the stars.
3 days, I will have a reputation that half the Chennai will be standing. Very easily, actually. But in yoga center also there are people who myself,
He will finish them. That doesn't sound like a good connotation that you would finish them. So he just basically said, if you were to predict people for just 3 days, maybe because he already had this much status, right? And this is 3 years ago, where they're not even talking about how big he is now. He has this much status. People will come to you. And I don't understand why people wouldn't come to you. People would most definitely come to you if you're giving accurate readings about things that are happening in their lifetime. And to answer the earlier question right now, no, an astrologer is not reading the person. A master astrologer, a veteran astrologer that actually understands the math behind degrees, behind the measurement, versus just looking at a chart online and making interpretive guesswork. Because yes, there are a plethora of astrologers who just do interpretive guesswork because they've read a perspective from a book, from an article online, that have not gone out of their way to be a true astrologer and test the science itself, not just necessarily go out and do readings for people. Like he's saying in this example, it's not necessarily wrong the way he's saying, because a lot of astrologers do this, but a true astrologer, a true person like me, who go out of their way to learn from a veteran astrologer who actually understands the numbers and the actual math and the actual scientific correlation within the orbits of the planets, we are reading from the orbits of the planet. I do not need to see a person. I could talk to a person on their phone. If they give me their accurate birth date and their accurate time of birth and an accurate geo coordinate position to where they are now or where they are at the time of their birth, I don't even need to see them. They just need to give me that information. I will give a 100% accurate reading for that person if they gave me accurate information. If they're lying to me and telling me information that is not right about them, I'm going to read whoever I am reading accurately, but I will not be reading them accurately because they lied. The astrology is not psychic work. It's not psychic work. It's a science. I need these variables so I can give you the answer. But even if I don't have your chart, if you give me the birth date of your child, of your brother, of your parent, I can read you from your parent's chart. I can read you from your child's chart. And again, we can do this over the phone, or you can text me. I don't do this, but you can just text me the accurate information and I will give you a direct description that really tells you what happened in your life and what events are going to come on through the future. I don't need to see you to do that. So that first statement he said is just not accurate.
go on with the process. Because by predicting somebody's future, don't alter the quality of his life in any way.
Yes, you can. That's my statement, but I'm gonna let him finish talking.
Don't bring any kind of true well-being. Just get into more and more ignorance.
No, I do not agree with that. Giving somebody more knowledge on accurate events that are going to happen, events that are actually going to happen, accurate, right, true, correct, telling somebody the truth about themselves will not make a person more ignorant. He's looking at it from a negative viewpoint, because one, he's already assuming that astrologers, or maybe from the astrologers he have seen, which are in reality just people who have a hobby, not actual astrologers, people who just have a passion for reading a chart. They don't actually know the science behind it. They haven't took the time and effort to actually track the motions of the planets or play with the math to see if it's actually accurate or not. Maybe from his experience, that's what he said, they're not actually reading from the planetary motions, they're reading from the people. So if he's going off of that perspective, which is what he said, then everything he's saying from that point on is going to be inaccurate. So if he's assuming that astrologers are reading people and not reading the motions of the planet relative to our position from the earth, then he would be right. But again, I already proved that's wrong. And to say that in general, knowing something that's going to happen that is true is supposed to make you more ignorant. No, that how is knowing the truth going to make you more ignorant? How are you going to say, if I were to tell you right now, in 5 days from now, if you in 5 days from now, if you if you text, DM, message 5 people, 10 people, 20 people a day to advertise your product, when the 5th day comes, Instagram is going to release a new algorithm, because I work with Instagram, and I can give you the scoop on what's going to happen. If you start already using these hashtags, these keywords, these phrases in advance, the algorithm, when it updates, is automatically going to post your stuff at the top of everybody's feed so you can sell your product more efficiently. You're not going to take the information. You're not going to take that information. If I watch the news and I watch for the weather and I want to know if it's going to be raining in 5 days because I have a party going on in 5 days and I'm inviting all my people, wouldn't it be better to know what's going to happen? What if it's a thunderstorm? What if it's a thunderstorm or tornadoes happening? Don't people already do that? Go look for information about what's going to happen in the future to help them out currently. But if an astrologer tells you exactly what's going to happen to you, for some reason, that's going to make you more ignorant.
You have the power to know your tomorrow. You only become more ignorant, more egoistic, more stupid, more harmful. Nobody controls. It's okay. No, what's tomorrow? You're made like this right now. The quality of your life and your own way of being is such. If you know tomorrow today, you will not participate in today.
Just because I know about tomorrow doesn't mean I can't and will not participate today. Just because I know what's going to happen tomorrow doesn't mean I'm going to spend all day thinking about tomorrow. If you are of a lesser mind, if you are already a sporadic person, yes, I guess that's the case, but I am not of that. And I was not, and I know plethora of people who are glad to know what's going to happen. I know a plethora of people are happy to now fully understand why an event in their life happened to them in the past that may have been shocking, to help them now heal from that event and get a more insight on the world around them, to appreciate the world more, to love the world more, to love themselves more. He's only talking about the negative connotations that could be gained from somebody who doesn't know what they're doing with astrology. He's not even thinking to even bring up this could possibly, relieve somebody of a burden on their chest that they felt like something that happened in the past is completely out of their was their fault, or takes the stress away from them from wondering what's going to happen to their friend, family member in their life at their job a week from now, because they already know the outcome that's going to happen, so they don't have to worry about it anymore, because it could be a good outcome.
Suppose I tell you, whatever you do, you're not going to die. You will do irresponsible things in the world. Or if I tell you tomorrow morning, anyway, you will die. No, you won't participate today. So you should not know the future. It's not necessary for you to know.
I'm gonna comment on that specific. If I tell you about your birth, or I mean when you're going to die, I'm gonna comment about that later. But I'm gonna let him finish his whole point.
Can somebody predict? Yes, sometimes, but it's not 100%. It's never 100%. Every object has a certain influence on it. Right now, this vessel, because of its shape and its material, has a certain influence. It has a certain vibration emanating from it. If I allow this vessel to influence me, I keep him next to me because he's quite a good friend. Not giving a plastic pot because I don't like his things that he says. I keep this one because I pleasant things. I know it's a good company. But now if I allow this vessel to influence me too much, slowly I will become like a vessel.
I'm gonna speed it up a little bit just to save time.
Like lessons. They will let things influence them so deeply they will become like me. No, I won't let this now vessel influence me. But being in my company is so influenced. See, you take another copper vessel, you give me anything. Right now you give me any object. Just give it to me for 20 seconds. I will get the hand and give it back to you. You'll be different. If you're sensitive, you can feel it's distinctly different. So the question is just this: will you allow objects to influence you, or will you influence objects? The planets definitely are large objects, so they have certain vibrations, they have certain influences on everything around them. If they're close to this planet, yes. Do you know on Paurnami and Amavasya days, full moon day and new moon day days, people who are really mentally disturbed or imbalanced become much more balanced. Yes. Even the ocean is going crazy. You can't go crazy. Wait a month. Some of you are not saying anything. Twice a month if you're going crazy, you would have observed. Anyway, please ask your family to tell. Now, compared to that person with a balanced mind, you are much more stable, much more established. Wherever the moon goes, you don't go crazy. Much more established. Wherever any planet goes, you don't go crazy.
Okay. He talked about a lot. I give him a lot of time to talk, just so nobody says I'm cutting him off. And I'm going to speak on like 4 points he brought up. The first one was, if you know your death is today or tomorrow. If an astrologer accurately calculates the day of your death, you cannot do a thing about that. You cannot do a thing about that. You cannot do a thing. Like he just said, if you are more disciplined, you're just going to live your life like you're supposed to. And when the day comes, it will come, whether it's the same day or the next day. We are not in control of this reality. We are not. And let me make this clear to you. If you want to say you are in complete control of your reality, if you're of the mindset of, I can manifest anything that I want, what I think affects what I do, which affects the environment around me. If you are of that mindset, that belief, that standpoint, all right, I ask you to do this right now. I want you to right now think of a pair of wings, flap your arms like you have a pair of wings, and cause the environment around you to manifest you actually floating in the air, flying like a bird. I don't care if you do that every single day for 100 years. You are a human. You are not going to flap your arms. They will turn into wings and you will fly. You are not going to grow multiple limbs. You're not going to blow up a mountain just by punching it. We cannot do everything and anything that we want to do. We are limited by this environment, by our bodies, and by the world around us. We do not have control. The All-Father that created us put us into these vessels, into these beings, into an experience that can be tracked. As above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven. That paradigm way of thinking is how the world works. You do not have full control. You cannot change your skin color at will. Whatever race you were born, you are that race. You cannot change the parents you had at birth. You cannot go back in time. You cannot swim from one continent to the other. You don't have that power. You don't have real control. Second thing you brought up, 100% right. You don't have control. All right. Don't let objects influence you. That's not the argument. The video is called Does Astrology Work? But that's not the argument. Don't let objects influence you. I already proved to you, you don't have control over this environment. You don't have control over this environment. If an earthquake were to happen in your environment right now, all the buildings and things will be destroyed. You can't control that. You cannot control that. I don't care if you can make a nuclear bomb and drop it somewhere. You're not going to destroy the entire planet. You're not going to blow up the universe. You don't have that power. You don't have that power. So when he says don't let objects influence you, he already admitted himself out of his mouth. He admitted himself out of his mouth that the moon, depending on where the moon is, affects the tides. Well, I don't know if he said the tide part yet. Affects the tides, and it affects your physical body. The world is about 70% plus water. Your body is made of about 70% water. And the moon has effect on everybody. If you go to medical hospitals and check their records, if you go to police dates and check the records, on full moon dates, there are more people admitted into the hospital. That's a fact. On full moon dates, more arrests are made. That's a fact. Am I saying it is the moon itself causing you to do any of these things? No, there's not one thing causing another thing. It is all concurring. It is all happening at the same time. Whenever you're going to do something in your own personal life that is emotionally tying for you, that will make you cry, that will upset your stomach, that is the moon relative to your own personal natal chart, your own personal birth chart is going to be crossing a planet, will be crossing a degree that makes an aspect that is going to be favorable for you or unfavorable for you anytime you're going to do it. Because you can break it down by the years, the days, the months, the hours, the seconds, the picoseconds. It affects on every level, above and below, macrocosmic, microcosmic. Everything is concurring the way it's supposed to. We don't have control.
Destiny of your life. It's for you and nothing else but you. Yes, everything has an influence. But what you make out of that influence is still yours. But if you're going to be pushed around by inanimate objects, yes, you can be pushed around. That takes it is true. I'm saying, why the divine responsibility? The creator responsibility. Why are you allowing inanimate things to hit you?
Again, you don't have a control in the matter.
You allow this dimension to flower in you. Let us ask what I want to push that on the inanimate objects. Now, there are those in horoscope and giving it to how you
Sorry about the background noise.
if there is a fool here, you look at it, you can say, okay, this is something.
All right, so yeah. So I hope I really broke this down for you. I'm gonna break down my points real quick at the end again. Astrology has been around for millions of years, even before the Egyptian pyramids, even before the Bible text, even before any written history, back when people were still just hunters and gatherers and farmers, and they were trying to find a way to outwit the environment or trying to survive as best as they can from the environment. We have built all of our famous structures, all of our famous monuments and civilizations, our greatest achievements of masonry building on this planet are metrically aligned with placements of stars in the sky. As above, so below. Whatever is happening in the stars above is directly in correlation and directly in concurrence, happening at the same time as everything here on the planet Earth. You do not have control over influencing objects or having objects influence you or not. Everything is just happening and according to plan, according to the divine creator's plan that put us in this existence in the first place. And having an astrology reading from an actual proper astrologer who actually uses the motions of the planets relative to you, relative to the planet Earth, to read your chart, can do it from anywhere. They don't need to see you. They're not using your face. They don't need to see your face. But if they see your face, they can still do that too. But they're not doing that. And using the astrology chart will help you in a beneficial way. Yes, if you are a person doing negative things, yes. Or if you're a person of a less developed mind state, you haven't evolved yet, you haven't gone through your life experiences yet that can be seen through astrology to tell you what's going on. When those things going on, you're going to be facing the negative aspects of those effects. When things are positively happening to you because you're of a higher mind state, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen to you. If you are a disciplined person, if you're having a negative, malicious aspect in your life, if you're a disciplined person, it's not that that negative thing will not happen to you. You just know how to handle it better, because guarantee you went through that experience already. Because like I said, the stars, the moon, the earth, the sun moves in a circular pattern that we can track. You do not just come out the womb disciplined. You go through the same experiences over and over and over again, slightly different each time, and you either learn from your mistake or you do not. That is astrology. That is astrology. It is a geometrical science based on the Earth's position to the moon and the sun, used by ancient Africans from hundreds of thousands to millions of years ago, and we still use it today, and it will still benefit you. This has been Chris Azir, 100 Agency. I have no problem with Sadhguru, but his opinion is wrong here. Catch you next time.